2025. Joining today's presser is Mr. Aubrey C. Norton, leader of the People's National Congress Reform and Parliamentary Opposition. Today's press statement will be read by the leader.
Good morning. We call for a full investigation into the president's role in the Lamborghini tax evasion scandal and the extent to which he generally undermines GRA's efforts at tax collection. The revelations surrounding President Ali's likely involvement in the Lamborghini tax evasion scandal have reached a point that his denials and the counter accusations are insufficient to establish his innocence. We in the APNU coalition therefore call for an independent investigation into the allegations that the president played an active and direct role in this matter. Additionally, it is likely that the Lamborghini scandal may not be the only time the president has allegedly intervened in the work of the GRA. We demand that the scope of the investigation includes the possibility that he is a regular conspirator and facilitator of tax evasion schemes. Every year, Guyana loses tens of billions of dollars through smuggling and under-invoicing. These are first and foremost criminal offenses and must be treated as such. But more so, this is money that could have been spent on the well-being of the Guyanese people. Tax evasion takes food out of the mouth of Guyanese, especially babies and children. If the allegations against President Ali are confirmed, then this is good enough reason for Guyanese to take the opportunity to throw him and his party out of government come September 1st. Sanctions by the U.S. Department of Treasury against Senior Superintendent Himnot Saw and others for drug trafficking confirm the level of corruption by some within the Guyana Police Force top brass and the complicity of the government. Reports are that former Barima Waini Region 1 Divisional Commander, Senior Superintendent Himnot Saw, who was on duty at the time of the more than 4 tons cocaine bust in last year, is among 4 Guyanese who were sanctioned by the United States for being involved in the global illicit drug trade. This is an indictment on the Guyana Police Force. It is also a clear indication that the Guyana Police Force was excluded from the operation because it was well known that the police was involved in the crime. We have regularly said that the Guyana Police Force as presently constituted cannot investigate crime because it is itself a criminal enterprise. Let us recall that when the Customs Anti-Narcotic Unit seized 4.4 tons of cocaine in Matthews Ridge last September, the government made grand pronouncements that investigations were ongoing. It boasted about its commitment in tackling transnational crimes, yet no one has since been arrested, let alone charged. The government of repeated statement that it will request details from the U.S. authorities to facilitate its own investigation has become a national embarrassment and trite. It is an excuse for inaction and an indication of complicity. It is no secret that this is a government that has long formed a reciprocal relationship with criminal enterprises of all types: narco trafficking, gold smuggling, money laundering, and other major illicit activities will continue to strive in the current friendly environment in Guyana until people who are serious, clean, and competent assume the office of government at the next elections. Guyanese must vote to give a better life to themselves and families. Now that an election date has been set, the APNU coalition calls on Guyanese to set aside ethnic and political differences and vote for their happiness and well being. Guyanese aspire to live a comfortable life without the daily hassles of trying to make ends meet and trying to stretch the dollars. They want living wages and a livable income. After four oil budgets under the PPP, with the last two budgets surpassing $1 trillion, living conditions have only gotten worse, and hope amongst the people has dwindled. We in the APNU coalition are offering policies and programs that will take the people of Guyana out of poverty, put resources in their hands, and remove the unnecessary everyday hassle, including those that have emerged from a lack of a road infrastructure development plan, which has resulted in a nightmare for the traveling public. We will not be surprised that when Guyanese go to the polling stations, they will vote against this ongoing poverty and economic hardship, the high cost of living, the corruption that channels their money into the hands of PPP families, friends, and favorites, and against the reality that the country's oil wealth is not reaching the people. The campaign of the APNU coalition will focus on convincing Guyanese that we can bring hope, prosperity, and happiness to their lives. We will focus on convincing Guyanese that we will put them first and ensure the country's oil wealth get into their hands, purses, wallets, and bank accounts. We will campaign on guaranteeing all households a livable income free from financial uncertainties. With our oil wealth, the APNU coalition believes that Guyana could become one of the best countries to live in. The PPP has had its chance with four oil budgets and has failed. Come September 1st, we will ask the voters to vote for us as we are well equipped to deliver to them a high quality of life. We will ask voters to let us show them what we mean by putting people first. I thank you.
Thank you. I'll open the floor for questions on the press statement. I have in-house questions. Ms. Svetlana.
Svetlana, Svetlana Marshall, News Source. Mr. Norton, you spoke about the need for a full investigation into this tax evasion scandal. Investigation by whom? Who should investigate the president? We've seen the state agencies go after Mr. Mohammed with regards to the issue of tax evasion stemming from the US sanctions. Are you concerned that the agencies may not be going after Ms. May Thomas, who was also sanctioned and who was also accused of acts of corruption? Is this something that you're looking into? With respect to elections, there's an opinion that your party may be in a state of disintegration. Could you respond to that? And recently, we've seen at least one, a member of parliament, Geeta Chandan Edmund, deflecting on the floor, endorsing President Ali. Could you respond to that move by Mrs. Chandan Edmund? And also, we've seen endorsement coming from the regional chairman, your largest block, Region 4, as well as the vice chairman. What this means for the party, its impact?
Let me begin with the first one. Who will investigate? We believe that a proper international investigation should be conducted. Since we were talking about the Adriana case, we made it very clear that the Ghana police force cannot investigate crime because essentially they are generally complicit in crime, if not involved directly. And so we do believe that there's need for an investigation. We know it's not likely to come under this government, but we need to call for it now so the next government can pursue it. Because as you are aware, this is not the first serious allegation. Remember that a journalist had Jagdeo stammering as he speaks about Sue because he was caught. And as I said, I want to make this clear. I noted in yesterday's press conference, Barry Jagdeo was saying, we are friends. I do not engage Barry Jagdeo. I do not want to be friends with a corrupt cabal. I do not want to be friends with any group that is considered to be complicit in drug trafficking and crime, trafficking in persons. So there is little or no scope whatsoever for me to be a friend of Barry Jagdeo. In fact, I consider him to be one of the key persons contributing to the destruction of Guyana, the destruction of the very fabric of our society. So this attempt to suggest we are friends is garbage. I do not engage Barry Jagdeo. I have no intention of engaging him. I see him as part of the criminal PPP cabal. Now, go after Mohammed. I have seen those agencies go after Mohammed. I hold no brief for Mohammed. I believe anybody who violates the law should face the full force of the law. My problem with what the government is doing is that it is clear that they facilitated what happened, and now they are seeking to distance themselves when the United States would have sanctioned Mohammed. And so for me, it is hypocrisy. And I am well aware that the government controls a lot of these institutions. And therefore, they are not allowed to operate the way they should in a democratic society. Clearly, there is total common control and domination of many of the state institutions that should be independent. And so I reason that they have instructed those agencies to go after Mohammed because they would have no fallout. But the country knows they were good friends. The country knows they were in bed together. And it's like when a man and a woman fall out, you got to be very careful because they say old firewood, easy for catch. May Thomas. The May Thomas issue is a clear indication that the government protects its operatives in crime and only act if they are compelled to do so by the international community. So I do not anticipate that the government will go after May Thomas, just as how they obviously had the information that and didn't go after him not so. Because, like I've said many times before, you have a situation where the government itself is complicit in these crimes, and therefore they cannot go after anybody because they will be implicating themselves. Now, PNC disintegrating, that's laughable. The PNC is a political party with more than 20,000 members. Our membership from the time I became leader has been increasing continuously. And so our base is strong. It is true that MP Gita Edmond would have endorsed President Ali. It is true that the regional chairman and vice chairman have. But if you look at their performance, you would recognize from the time I became leader of the party, they were not doing work for the party. Gita became general secretary, and for reasons that I don't want to discuss because it will be embarrassing for her, she ended up resigning. Now she is a free Guyanese. She isn't in the PPP where there are reprisals if you go. So she's free to go. As to the chairman and vice chairman, like I said, they have not been serving the party for the longest while. Again, I don't want to get into the details. What I can assure you is that moving forward, most of the people on the PNC list will be tested and proven PNC persons. When people aren't tested and proven, then you cannot be assured of their commitment. We will work in naming our next list to ensure there will be new people, but we will have a list of people who are committed to our party. May I hurtle to point out that I see the prominence given to it as a manifestation of the weaknesses of the People's Progressive Party. As they suffer in their own community, as they see a threat from Mohammed, as they see a threat from the opposition, they are clutching at anything. And so, as they try to appear to be a popular party, they were forced to put these as if they are some big events. But let me remind them, Odinga went, Joe Hamilton went, many went, and the People's National Congress reform stayed intact. They will be no different. For me, it's an end of an era when we made bad choices in terms of the people we placed in positions.
You can go ahead.
Just some follow-ups. With respect to those who switch sides, are you concerned that they will pull votes from the party come September 1? Have you decided on whether you will be? I know the party indicated that they would like to have you as the presidential candidate and that it was up to you if you would decide on another person. But have you decided on whether you will be the presidential candidate for the PNC, APNU? Is there a prime ministerial candidate that is under consideration? And if so, who? And is the party in talks? We've taken note of PNC/APNU joining partnership with WPA. Is the party still open to conversations or dialogue about few other partnerships with other parties? And you spoke about the PPP threatened by the Mohammeds and the opposition. Does the APNU feel threatened by the Mohammeds?
Now, if the two from the region will pull votes, probably their own votes. As it relates to the party, our party structure is intact. Our party base is intact. That is not to say one or two persons might be, but there will be no negative impact on the party. I don't want to get into specifics, but I don't believe any of them can pull 3 votes. That's the first thing I want to say. As it relates to the PM candidate, we haven't decided as yet, but there are a number of people we are contemplating. As it relates to the WPA, we have engaged the WPA, and as far as I'm aware, the WPA is on board with the APNU. We have been engaging other political forces, and some we are likely to engage and keep. Some we're likely to say, no, we might not. But we will continue to engage. APNU threatened by Mohammed. Now, it is not good to play bravado. As a political party, our task is to protect our base, whether it be Mohammed or the PPP. And we will do that. To go out there and say, oh, all is well and good, will bring complacency. We don't want to be complacent. We have strategized on how we will deal with the Mohammed phenomenon. So far, yes. I'll be the presidential candidate. Look, we have engaged the AFC. We have left the door open. We do believe in coalition. We have made all our offers, and we will see how it goes.
Sir, going back to the matter of Ms. Gita Chandler Edmond, notably she had supported the 2025 national budget in the debate. My question then to you is why didn't you write the representative of the list requesting that she be recalled and replaced so as to avoid what happened at the last sitting? And secondly, with respect to the Region 4 Vice Chairman, he was someone for whom you had played a major role in taking up that position instead of the AFC. Do you now regret that decision?
Now, there's no place for regretting decision in political life. You make the decisions, they will have consequences, you deal with the consequences. So I don't know that we regret any
Do
decision.
you feel betrayed?
I think that question should be asked to them rather than to me. If
But
they,
you were the man who touted for him. You went there and ensured that he was voted in today.
I did not tout it for anybody. If you understand how a political party operates, when the elections were over, the political parties discuss who will they make chairman and vice chair. They then send a representative. For instance, I was Region 4. Carol was Region 7. There were other people in other regions. And you leave with a decision of the party. And having had the decision of the party, my task was to go there and ensure the election is done and the party's nominees become the chair and vice chair. I think I have fulfilled that role honorably.
Before I go on, Mr. Norton, just a clarification on that point. Wasn't there an agreement with the AFC that they will occupy the vice chairmanship, and it was you who went there and ensured that that did not happen?
I will say this to you. I knew of no such agreement. The last thing I did before I would have left, because there was rumors about the agreement, asked if there was such agreement. I was told no, and I proceeded to do what the party asked me to do. I have been a loyal party member since 1972.
The candidate question.
Or the recall. Look, when a political party is confronted by an issue, it has to engage its leadership and make a decision one way or the other. It was felt at the time that there is not much to be had to go and recall Gita. First of all, the PPP would have portrayed it in its own way. We were well aware of the direction, but we thought that it was not in the best interest of our party to go recalling her at the 10th hour. Even now, people are saying if there's another section, she shouldn't be there. You wouldn't look strong if you don't remove her. But I don't know what is the political capital, the political use value to be had from moving her. If it was a situation where we had a one seat majority over our opponents, then it would have been useful because she would not have been able to change a vote. But in the present circumstance where that one seat is of no real consequence in a vote, etc., I don't believe that we need to be going fighting to remove her. Like I said, we thank her and others for their service. They are free to go where they want to go. We will move on without being vindictive.
I think one of the reasons being advanced for her removal before the last sitting was that you would have avoided her using your opposition benches to endorse the president and to criticize your coalition.
We would have assessed that and we arrived at the same conclusion I just told you about.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
Good morning, Trina Williams, Ghana Chronicle. Taking note of the APA News coalition with the WPA, can you say what motivated that choice to join forces with the WPA?
Well, I don't know if there's any motivation as such. We have always been the WPA was always in the partnership. Like in coalition, there are differences which you have to engage and sort out. We have sorted those out, and we are together. And even though when we were separate as such, we always engaged the WPA. From the time I became leader, the WPA was always engaged. And so for us, it is a natural part of our attempts at ensuring a broad-based group confronts the government.
Okay, and a follow-up there. The APNU has entered into a coalition with the WPA, whose co-leader David Hines made disparaging remarks about Afro and Indo-Guyanese who chose to support other political parties. These remarks have drawn significant public backlash, and no apology has been issued from Mr. Hines. Given this alliance, does the coalition intend to address these comments publicly? And what specific steps will be taken to reassure voters, particularly those who felt targeted and alienated, that their democratic choices are respected?
I do not know about disparaging remarks. I do not know about disparaging remarks. I know for a fact that David is passionate about whatever. And mind you, we are not answerable for the WPA. When we're working in coalition, we'll agree on principles and policies and move forward. And in that regard, I don't think people have to worry, because we will work on our policies, our programs, be united, and we will put a united front. You know, when I hear disparaging remarks, I remember Barrett calling Cathy a lowlife. You know, when you talk about disparaging, if disparaging remarks and approaches were a death knell in politics, Barrett would have not been alive. So I would say to you, we engage David Hines. We believe he's a very intelligent person. We know what his beliefs are. We will work together, but there's no way we will condemn David. He has a right as a member of the WPA, just like how others have a right to express his views. When his views conflict, we will have to deal with it. But I would say to you, David Hines has been in politics long. He obviously knows that he has to choose what he says. And I think if he chooses to go whichever road he went down, it is after a conscious decision. But I can say to you that in the context of the APNU, we will have agreed policies, programs, etc., and we will work together to deal with them.
And
Mr.
finally,
Norton,
Hold on,
in
Mr.
relation to the, oh, sorry, well, just a
That's
follow-up
it?
actually.
Okay, Mr. Chabral.
In relation to your party's relationship with the AP, with the WPA, and of course the APN's relationship with the WPA, what assurances or guarantees have been given to the WPA that they will be properly treated this time around and not left out of decision-making mechanisms as a member of the APNU?
I can say to you, as leader of the opposition, as chairman of the APNU, from the time I became leader, we have always engaged the WPA and worked with them. And I don't think we have to give them any reassurances. I believe they accept that there is some kind of a symbiotic relationship between the WPA leadership and the PNC leadership, and we can work together.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
The opposition has
pledged a significant increase in recurrent spending, including
The opposition has
100,000.
spent what?
a significant increase in recurrent spending. I'm talking about the promise of the 100,000 monthly old age pension, electricity subsidies, etc. How does the APNU WPA coalition plan to sustainably finance critical capital projects in infrastructure, healthcare, and other essential sectors? What specific budget allocations or funding mechanisms have the coalition outlined for these areas? And can you guarantee that development will not be compromised by these high recurring expenditures?
Let me start by saying this to you. We have done the work. A road that the PPP says is $90 million is generally $50 million. So unfortunately, every one of those key projects, you're going to save millions of dollars by cutting PPP corruption. Now, we have never said that we wouldn't do infrastructure. What we said is that, one, because of family, friends, and favorites, a lot of money goes to waste. The second point we have made is that the government blows up the infrastructure budget so that they could thief. To put it in simple language, we believe cutting back that will help. We will have more meaningful infrastructure projects than what the government has. You know, when you look at the stupidity of the government, and I'm saying this because I said it before they were dealing with the Heroes Highway. We had said then that they should have done the road from from Soesdijk to Mahika. And then you do cutoffs. So what would happen is that all who did not need to come into Georgetown will head to wherever they're going and cut off. They proceeded to do what they're doing, and then they now move the point where we had put the bridge from over the river. Now, those people are going to end up on the Heroes Highway, creating more confusion. I've long said that what they were doing will make Sheriff Street congested. I don't have to give any facts anymore. Everybody that travels the road knows that all they have done is throw some traffic from the East Bank onto the Heroes Highway. So you now have 2 points of congestion. And then you're going to now bring the bridge there. So you didn't deal with the major issues of ensuring that your infrastructure contribute to smooth flow of traffic and to bring an ease to the congestion. Ejil, as an architect of confusion, is increasing congestion in the city. And so as we relook at, we had said this government travels, and they would have seen a lot of high-rise roads so that you don't have to stop at Mocha, stop at Eccles and create congestion. We need to take infrastructure to another level, and that is what the APNU will do in government. We believe that roads must not just be constructed. They must be constructed to facilitate the flow of traffic and improve the quality of life of the people, ensure business can be done properly by reducing congestion. The PPP has shown that they can put money into infrastructure for corrupt practices, but not in terms of relieving the problems the people have in terms of construction. You know what you see at West Demerara? They built that Schoonard to Crane Road. It was supposed to take off traffic. It is done so bad that people now prefer to go through the same old road. What you are seeing is a manifestation of the incompetence of the People's Progressive Party. They have no infrastructural development plan. It has to be the epitome of asininity, its highest point. If you meet roads that are wide and then you narrow them, and there are a lot of them across the country, it must be some form of stupidity for you to know that Guyana is prone to flooding and that a lot of the large drains help to take off the water, and you're involved in a process of narrowing those drains. And then you hope you will deal with floods. There's technology around that permit you to leave those, say, bailon over them and be able to clean them, etc., but not necessarily narrowing them. And so we have to wait and see the ill effects of this so-called infrastructure plan without a proper drainage plan.
How does the coalition intend to deliver on its commitment of providing electricity subsidies after removing those very subsidies from during 2015 to 2020?
I don't know what subsidies we removed. You're making the assumption that the PPP had subsidies. They had none. GPL was bankrupt when we took it over. GPL ended up, by the time it went back to the People's Progressive Party, it was in the black, not in the red. It is back in the red. Now let's address the question of subsidies. There are many areas in the last 3 budgets that you can reallocate resources to give Guyanese the $10,000 electricity subsidy and the $5,000 water subsidy. We have to look at it from the standpoint of giving our people a better life. And we who will manage the economy will manage the economy in such a way that the resources will be allocated for these programs, because we do believe the most important resource to develop is the human resource. And so we will rectify the imbalance between infrastructure and current in a way that allows us to deliver. And let me give you evidence it could be delivered. Throughout our, at least the 4 years since I am leader of the opposition, or the 3 years, we have been calling for a cash transfer to the people. Barrett Jackdaw said it isn't financially viable. Oh, Norton doesn't know anything about economics, yet he proceeds to do the same thing. The only difference with what we would have done and what they did is our own would have run smooth and their own was a confusion center. So the very things that they are following, don't forget, this government follows us. We said we were going to bring free education to the University of Guyana and that we were going to write off the loans. They talk about bringing free education, but they ain't writing off the loans. We believe in putting resources in the hands of the people. And so you will find a government that is people-centered, that will put resources in the hands of the people. And I dare say to you, with oil money coming in, I believe without borrowing as much as the PPP, we can develop Guyana and put resources in the hands of the people. Why is it we cannot finance, as Barrett said, we cannot finance rent to own? We can finance a rent to own system. We can get large companies and small companies to build houses for people. We put those people in the houses. They pay a rent until it covers the cost of the house, and the house will become theirs. And we're saying to the young people in this country, the APNU is offering you a pathway to a house without the burden of going to the bank and having to put what percentage of your salary, etc. Our people-centered development strategy is aimed at giving the people of Guyana a better life, and we will manage the economy in such a way that we can deliver a better life. I don't want to be, I'm not here attacking Exxon, but let's ask the question, why if Exxon could get tax-free treatment, we cannot give similar treatment and put resources in the hands of the people of Guyana? We accept that Exxon is playing an important role, but we're saying that the people of Guyana deserve better and we will deliver better.
Thank you. The floor is still open for questions on the press statement. You'll just state your name and media house. Thank you.
Nisha Bristol, NCN News. Why is there such a sudden change in the GCOM's opposition commissioners pushing for prisoners to vote? And do you think that there are resources, that GCOM has enough resources to facilitate this?
You need to ask the opposition members that. They're competent to answer. But I could say the only difference is that these concerns were being raised inside and no attention was being paid, and the time has come when it should be in the public domain. And I believe the opposition members of parliament, members of the Guyana Election Commission are competent and know what they're doing, and they're handling it in the way that it should be handled.
Thank you.
Just to
Ms. Norton, you said that the party's considering several persons for the position and the prime ministerial post. Would you be open to disclosing maybe who are some of the persons that are under consideration?
No, my dear. I have always said negotiations aren't complete until everything is agreed. And I wouldn't venture to say these are the persons being considered.
Well, what is the party looking for in a prime ministerial candidate? What are some of the qualities the person must
There
have?
are a number of qualities. We want to bring diversity to the team. That is one. We want to have someone who is competent intellectually, as well as prepared to be on the ground and do work. You know, there are a lot of people who can be intellectual, but they're high up in the world and don't want to touch the ground. We want one that is prepared to touch the ground, is one that is prepared to do work with the people, one that has the intellectual capacity, like I would have said, and one that buys in to the vision we have for Guyana. Those are some of the qualities. We believe that whoever is a prime ministerial candidate must be one who serves the people and not serve themselves.
Mr. Norton, just to follow up, is that person expected to come from within the PNC?
You know, I like the algebra. There are certain things you let be X. And he who has the mathematical skill works it out.
So my question still remains, is the person going to come from within the PNC?
Up until now, it is still X. We haven't worked out where the person will come from. We give some broad parameters on whoever fits it. From wherever they come, they will be there.
Thank you.
My final question.
Going back to the defections from your party and the opposition, are you worried though that despite the fact that notwithstanding what you previously said, that from a psychological perspective, that this can have an impact on your party?
There is no doubt that things that happen will have psychological impact. The question becomes whether we as a political party have the capacity to deal with whatever psychological effects. We have been dealing with that internally. At this stage, we are just focusing on the task ahead, staying focused, doing our groundwork, and reassuring our supporters that we will beat the People's Progressive Party in the upcoming elections.
Final two questions.
Feel free, my dear.
GCOM, the work plan, are you satisfied with the timelines that they've released thus far? Do you think that the parties have sufficient time, your party has sufficient time to prep for the general and regional elections? Are you satisfied with some of the issues that they've ruled upon in recent times since the announcement of the elections? And my final question is, the majority of the electorate are youths. Do you believe that your message would resonate with them? And what is your party's internal polling telling you?
Now, let me start with GCOM timelines. We have been in election preparation mode for the last 3 years. Anybody who watched her would have seen that we were doing our work. We had already prepared our short list of candidates. We knew that we had to get signatures, so we were doing our work to get signatures. And so we are well on target. The timeline wouldn't affect us. But what we'll say about the timeline is that the government, again, has shown it cannot be trusted. It has narrowed the timelines. I assume with the aim of getting rid of the small parties. I believe that is the objective. I don't think they believe we wouldn't be ready. They know we will be. They know we're an experienced political party. I think in their obsession with certain political actors, they decided that some of them were new and we can give them no time with the hope of forcing them out of the election. It is the normal wickedness of the People's Progressive Party. So, we are not worried with the timeline, but we are well aware that a lot of it that was done violated the conventions in preparing. Our latest poll results suggest to us that we need to do more work with it suggests that we are strong in the 35 and above. We are relatively strong in the 25 to 35. It is the 25 and under we have to focus on in the coming weeks.
Thank you. You have
Or may I also say that there will be a large youth component in our team.
My final question, sir.
Your final question. Feel free, my dear. That's the purpose of a press conference. I am not the one who does exclude people and stop them from speaking.
The WPA, during its last press conference, addressed the issue of splitting the votes and concerns. We know that the WPA was pushing for a grand coalition, a grand opposition to contest the 2025 elections. Are you concerned that with the AFC indicating, I think last week, that it will be contesting the elections as an independent party, the APNU/WPA, and then there are some other smaller opposition parties, some of whom came out from the PNC. Are you concerned about vote splitting and your the impact on you actually?
One goes to war with the troops you have in the environment you have. You don't, in a war, decide, oh, though this war is supposed to be in Georgetown, we can carry our forces to Linden and fight it. You have to go in the environment. Ideally, we prefer coalition. We believe it will make our job easier. But since we have been negotiating in good faith and we have been making some proposals, and at some time, I will reveal to the public all the details of the negotiation, so it should be obvious that we did a lot, we came a far way. Look, the AFC started by demanding 55% and we 45. We have been negotiating and narrowing the gap. We will do everything to get coalition. But at the same time, we are preparing for if we do not. And we do believe if we do not, there are some elements we have to put in place to deal with the fact that there isn't a coalition. But we believe we can mobilize the people that are needed to win an election.
Thank you.
Mr. Norton,
Feel
on the
free.
question of coalition, now that Mr. Mohammed has declared his intent to run for the presidency, would you be willing to absorb into the APNU firstly? And secondly, if that does not happen, would you, in a situation where there is a plurality in the National Assembly, be willing to seek or accept the support for the passage of bills in the budget?
All right, let me start by absorbing Mohammed. I mean, it sounds so chemical-like. Eh? The reality is Mohammed has already said that he's not going to coalesce with the APNU nor the AFC. And we will merely live with that reality. As it relates to what happens after, politics is too fluid and dynamic a thing for me to tell you what we can do after the elections, before the elections.
Thank you.
But do you think that the fact that he's sanctioned by the United States provides you with a stumbling block or not?
Why do I want to get into an issue in which, for me, it has nothing to do with us? I do not know. I know he has been sanctioned, and that's a fact. It's also a fact that our Constitution provides an opportunity for him to run. I am in no position to deal with that. If he decides to run, it's his decision. He will know the consequences. We will know the consequences. We will make our decisions. But I'm not prepared here to sit down and to move into the realm of the unknown as if I have a microscope that can tell me the details of the future.
Thank you.
No, it's not a matter of the future. The fact that he's sanctioned, was that going to be a stumbling block in terms of your party, your parliamentarians, and so on, dealing with someone who has been sanctioned by the United States?
I would say to you, I heard the American ambassador said that somebody wasn't sanctioned because they spoke with Mohammed. I'll be guided.
All right. Thank you so much. At this time, I will leave the floor for one more question. I see the hands of Mr. Kamal.
Hi, good day. Kimal King for Ghana Standard. Mr. Norton, I noted that when the APNU announced its decision to coalesce with the WPA, despite the fact that the WPA was once a constituent of APNU under the name APNU, the new coalition is called APNU-WPA. I don't know how telling that name is, but does it suggest that the WPA would have greater prominence, authority, and or a portion in Parliament should you contest the election together?
Okay.
And before you answer, if the terms of your agreement to coalesce include some sort of numerical split, could you disclose what that would be?
Now, let me start with the first question, which will answer the second. At no stage did we declare that we are running APNU WPA. I believe you would have seen a joint press statement in which we put APNU plus WPA. The WPA has agreed to run under the APNU. We believe that the APNU is an established brand, and we're not going to go fighting to use a new brand. So all of us will come under the APNU. If there has been a numerical split, whenever we reveal the agreement, we will make that known.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, at this time, I want to thank our reporters for joining today's press conference, and of course, our viewing audience and all our social media platforms. Do have a wonderful afternoon and weekend.